US continues to provide fatal weapons to Ukraine, aiming to perpetuate crisis and maximize its own interests. Experts, everything you need to know. The US has provided over $43 billion in military support to Ukraine since the crisis began in February 2022. Experts believe that the US continues to provide military assistance to Ukraine in order to perpetuate the crisis and serve its own political and economic interests. The US Defense Department is purchasing AIM-120 AMRAAM advanced air-to-air missiles to support Ukraine in its fight against Russia. These missiles have a range of 160 to 180 kilometers and are more than enough to target Russian aircraft without entering the enemy's air defense zone. In addition to the missiles, the US is also sending controversial armor-piercing munitions containing depleted uranium to Ukraine for the first time. These munitions can be fired from US Abrams tanks that are expected to be delivered to Ukraine soon. However, opponents argue that there are dangerous health risks associated with depleted uranium, including cancers and birth defects. Experts argue that the US's actions in providing weapons to Ukraine have no bottom line and only serve to pour fuel on the fire of the crisis. The US is accused of ignoring the humanitarian crisis and the risk of terrorism that may worsen as a result of the conflict. From a geopolitical perspective, the US can continue to aggravate the confrontation between Russia and Europe by exaggerating the threat of conflict. This forces Europe to increase its dependence on the US and strengthens the US's hegemonic status. At an economic level, the longer the conflict lasts, the more lucrative it becomes for US arms dealers. While the weapons supplied by the US may not change the course of the war, they do provide the Ukrainian army with an increasingly wide range of strike capabilities. Unfortunately, this is bad news for the civilians affected by the war. The US's continued supply of weapons to Ukraine and the use of controversial munitions may further worsen the humanitarian crisis in the region. The conflict in Ukraine has become a testing ground for Western allies to showcase their weapons in a direct clash with Russian forces. However, due to the large gap between the interests of the parties involved, substantive progress in negotiations seems almost impossible at present.